Good morning, everybody. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh, okay, all right, good. I think I just miscounted. 9, I'm 10. Okay. So we're here to talk about passwords because you know what? This is that conversation that you keep having, right? This was my original title for this presentation, but I decided not to actually put that in the printed program, or at least not to try to put it in the printed program. Which was, for the video recording record, your passwords suck. No, really, I'm not kidding this time. Because I feel like I've been giving some version of this presentation for several decades now. And I will admit, I haven't always been perfect. I'm still not perfect, but I'm trying to get as close to perfect as possible. And I finally took the plunge to use the a tool that is out there that got a lot of press recently because of some things we'll talk about. So for the record, I'm the Michael Sauers, the Technology Innovation Librarian for the Library Commission. And please notice what I did do with that title. What was the title? Your passwords suck. Plural. You have more than one, right? Okay, we at least gotten past that step? Okay, good. You're not reusing your passwords. Yes, there are some, if you insist that you can only remember 4, okay, I'm going to help you try to solve that problem, but at least you have a 5th one that's for like your bank account, right? That one's completely different from all the others. Please tell me you're at least doing that. By the end of today, or the end of this hour, I hope to convince you that all of your passwords will be 30 characters long and completely random and you won't know any of them. I'm only half kidding. Okay. So, why did I decide we had to do this again? Well, passwords and security issues have been in the news a lot more lately, especially in the last 6 months to a year. The Heartbleed bug, which kind of started all of this, which won't get into too much detail, but basically it decided that people found out there was a big, giant, sucking hole in the middle of one of the basic security level protocols that run pretty much everything on the internet. And everybody kind of went, oops. And so the recommendation from that was, oh, by the way, every single password you have, change them. And that's where I started thinking, okay, maybe I'm not doing this as good as I could and I really need something to help me out. More recently, Target was out to happen, their password hack, Home Depot much more recently, and Dropbox and iCloud have had issues with passwords and things like that. So having a good password would not actually help you avoid these problems, okay? But having a good password and using the software I'm going to talk about will help you solve these problems when they happen to you. Okay, so that's one of the benefits. So we do have to talk about where you are in the password process. Okay? And the first stage is denial. Okay, are we all at denial? How many of us are at denial yet? My passwords are fine. Okay, Laura's at denial, that's good. Here is a graphic that's been going around. Here's the 500 worst passwords. And these are actual passwords people are using, and usually password is one of those really horrible passwords. There are some words on here you might find offensive. I apologize for that. But monkey is always a really great password to use. So many people are still in the denial stage. Okay. What's our next stage? Okay. Our next stage here is anger. Okay. Darn it! I had the most perfect way to write a password ever. And now I've tested it, and it will take 30 seconds for a computer to break it, and that's a Commodore 64. And darn it, I don't want to deal with this. Laura, I think you might kind of be in anger.
I might be in anger.
You're kind of at anger there. And because you run into this sort of thing, where you've got your scheme and you just can't remember it and whatever. So your password is incorrect there. Okay. Then what's after anger? Does anybody know here? Bargaining. Okay, well, my bank account password will be different. Then everything's okay. Because then they can't get into my bank account. Okay. Well, the trouble is if your email password sucks, they can get into your email and reset your bank account password. Right? So you kind of start to bargain, and I was kind of at bargaining for quite a while. I knew I had an issue, but I think I could solve it a certain way, by just writing longer passwords and things like that. Then finally we do get to the depression stage. And that's what pretty much happened to me when Heartbleed happened. I kind of went, yeah, no, none of this is going to work. I've got to find something else. Okay. So what you really need to be able to do is to not only have passwords to secure your stuff, but you need a way to secure your passwords, which I know starts to feel like layer upon layer of redundancy, but you do need a way to secure your passwords. And you do need to have a way to be able to get to those passwords as needed with your multipass. Good, somebody got that joke. All right. And to be able to store securely your passwords and or any other information, to be able to get to that information as you need it, to be able to easily edit and change that information as you need it, so that when the password database of the service is hacked, you can quickly go in and check and change that password without too much of a pain. So there are programs out there. The one I'm going to be talking about is LastPass. Okay? And at this point, the plan is I'm going to kind of go into live demo mode here and actually show you how I use it. LastPass by default is a free program. Just Google LastPass. I think it's lastpass.com. You download it. You can install it. There's several platforms. If you are a Chrome or a Firefox user, there are browser plugins that just integrate them directly into your browser. If you are, I'm sorry, stuck on Internet Explorer, you will need to actually install a piece of software on your desktop to be able to run this and use it, and you will need administrative privilege to your account, to your desktop machine. There is also a mobile version of LastPass to put it on your phone. Now we'll talk about that. Well, I'll just talk about that briefly here. The mobile version is not free. Okay, it is $12 a year. Okay, but when I set up LastPass and I started creating these 16-character long, completely random passwords, the last thing I wanted to do is have to try to log into something on my phone and have to go to my computer to look up that password and try to type in that really random password. So I paid $12 whole to get this to work on my phone, and I'm worth every single penny. Okay, so that is kind of the one leap beyond, even if I convince you this is the way you want to go. If you are a heavy mobile user and really want to take this to the full extent, it's $12 a year. Okay. Yes?
So if you do the app, the mobile app, and you pay the $12 a year, are you able to have it on multiple devices?
Yes. Yep.
Phone, tablet,
yep.
okay.
Exactly. Yeah. In fact, I have it on multiple devices myself.
Okay.
Now, one thing I want to stress here, and I'll before we go to the live demo, is that I am pretty much at this stage. Okay. It took a while. It took a lead. I mean, I'm going to give you the overview here, but it will take some work. It took me a month or two to completely convert over to this system, and at this point, I know, I think, 3 of my passwords. Okay. Yes, 3. I know the password to my desktop account for my personal computers, because I have to log into that first before I can even get to LastPass, and I don't want to bring it up on my phone and type a really cryptic thing. So I know that. I know the login to my account at work for my desktop for the same reason. I don't want to have to pull up my phone just to log into my computer. And I know the password to my LastPass account. Okay. So ultimately the trick here is that what you need to do is when you set up your LastPass account, you have to pick a master password. And you want that one to be a good, strong password that you can remember. So all those tricks you've learned about replacing characters and making it long and making a passphrase or all that, that's where this stuff applies, is that master password. Here's kind of the ultimate downside where you're taking a little bit of a leap of faith here, and this is where I had to get over it, was if you lose that password, you're screwed. I will quote the audience. You are screwed.
I did that, and I hated LastPass.
They don't have it. Okay? You can reset your password, but you got to know your password to reset your password, because all of this information is stored under AES 256-bit encryption. This is strong stuff. Okay? Somebody, if they don't have that password and they get your file, they get gibberish, and it is pretty much unintelligible unless they got 16 supercomputers in the next 100 years. So that one password you've got to remember. But the key is you only have to remember one password. Okay? And that's one of the other products. It's called One Password. One Pass or One Password. Okay. So give me a second here to kind of switch my screen around. Escape out of this because you were saying a different desktop. So give me a sec here. Devices, project, duplicate. Okay. So where we're going to start is LastPass.com. And I just want to show you their website real quick. This is their homepage. Yay. Okay, there is download for free, and it'll ask you, are you using Firefox or Chrome or Internet Explorer. The premium down here in the lower left is where you can pay the $12 a year and get access to the mobile app. Then there is also an enterprise, so I'll address that briefly here. You can install LastPass kind of as an organization, okay? And there is a cost to that. I'm not sure what it is off the top of my head. But then with that, you can start assigning passwords to people in your enterprise and share passwords with people across your enterprise and say, these 5 people over here need the password and login information for this service, and those 5 people over here need the password. You can kind of centrally administer it. I have not yet convinced my organization to go there. But so most of what I'm talking about here is going to be looking at it from the perspective of an individual user. I'm going to go ahead and sign in real quick to my account, and this is where I told you I know my own password, so we're going to try that here. And it's about 18 characters or so, and it just, okay. And so what I am looking at right now is the kind of online version. Okay. The benefit here is if I go to another computer where I have not installed LastPass, I can still log into the LastPass website and get access to my passwords. I can copy and paste them into whatever website I'm logging into. Okay. The information is being encrypted in transport, and the moment I log out of my LastPass account, the next person who sits down at the computer does not have access to that. Okay. I don't do this all that often. I usually have whatever computer I have control of with me, so I've actually integrated it and installed it up here with this little yellow icon that we'll get to in a moment. Okay. So I just want to quickly show you that you do have access wherever. If you don't want to pay the $12, you can always, instead of using the app, you could go to your web browser on your mobile device and log into this. Okay? But what the app will do is say, hey, I notice you're trying to log into eBay, would you like me to do that for you? And you say yes, and you give it your LastPass password, and it just does it. It saves you a lot of copying and pasting. So you don't have to pay the $12. Now, just to show you, this is how many accounts and passwords I have listed down along here. There are literally 600 or 800 of them. The really fun part was Monday, I was thinking about this presentation, and one of the things I'll show you in a little bit is what happens when you sign up for a new service. How does LastPass work to generate a password and whatnot? I couldn't think of an online service I wasn't already signed up for. So it was you suggested Ravelry, right? So I'm going to attempt to sign up for the knitting social service because I'm not on that yet.
It's crocheting too.
Okay, sorry. Knitting and crocheting, needlework. Okay, I got it. And that's fine. I'm not anti. I just didn't have an account. I literally was having trouble thinking of a service I didn't because I sign up for everything because I never know what I'm going to talk about. Okay, so there is that web access, and you'll see down here on the left we have settings and shared folders, and there is some sharing. But I could theoretically, if my wife had an account, share some accounts with her if I wanted to, things like that. But mostly what I'm going to show you how I access it kind of more daily through the plugin. So I'm going to go ahead and log back out of here. Just to make sure I'm all nice and clear on that. Okay. So the tool up here is this yellow icon, but you'll notice it's yellow and all of the other icons you see are red. So the fact that it's actually yellow means something, and if I click on it, it's going to say here, hey, wait a minute, your session has expired, you're not actually logged in. Okay. When I first run my browser, it will be gray because I haven't logged in at all. And you can set the amount of time you want to stay logged into your system before it asks you for that master password again. On my phone, I keep it super short, like 2 minutes. On my desktops, I keep it, 20 minutes, 30 minutes all day, if it's at home versus at work, things like that. So what I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do try again. And so now I'm using the app, or excuse me, the browser version. I've said, please remember my email. I don't want to keep typing that, but I do need to log in to that. And you can have it remember this password if you want, but then the question is, how secure is this computer? So I'm going to tell you how I do it. You need to make these decisions for yourself. Okay, so let's go ahead and say that I'm going to go ahead and back out of Facebook here, and I'm going to actually log out. And so if I now go to Facebook, notice here's my login information, and it's automatically been filled in. Now you can control that. Okay, some sites I've decided, you know what, just automatically fill that information in for me. Other sites I've said automatically fill in my email address, but I need to initiate the fact that I want to log in with a particular password. And you can tell that LastPass knows about this because look at the end of each of the email and the password field. There's a little star. That's LastPass. Now notice it's also a little star with a 2. Okay, what that means is I have 2 accounts in LastPass that are associated with Facebook.com. So it's asking me, or it's notifying me that I have a choice. And so if I click on this, I can see here that I have one account that's under M. Sauers in my email address, but I also could log in as the commission, so I have one under that email address. And so if I wanted to log in as the commission, I just change it and it fills in that information for me, and I can log in. If I was to show you Google, I have like 6 or 8 different accounts based on work and home and services I run for other people and whatever. Now, at this point, I have absolutely no idea what that password is. Honestly, it's completely random junk. I don't know what it is. I can go find it, and we'll get to that, and then I'll change it later because you'll all see what my password is. But it can happen. So in this case, I just select which account I want to log in as. I click login, and I'm now in. So at this point, I again don't know what that password is. So let me show you another way you can do this. I'm going to go ahead and go to yes. Oh, I forgot the www. All right. So here is an online store that I am currently logged into. And so what I mentioned earlier was that this doesn't necessarily protect you from somebody stealing your passwords, but it makes your life a little easier if somebody does and you need to change it. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my account, and under password, I want to choose a new password. So in this case, I click in there, and what is weirdly, why is it doing Eric, confirm new password? Now, I was actually expecting something to happen, which was a little kind of lock with a circular arrow to show up here, which means, hey, I'm noticing you want to generate a password. Okay? I don't know why that isn't showing up on this website, but what I can also do is I can hit Control G. I think. Wow. Okay, Alt G, excuse me. Alt G. And now, between Firefox and Chrome, some things will act a little differently. I was actually expecting a little window to pop up. Instead, it gave me a new tab. That's fine. And it has generated a password for me of 16 characters, completely random. And I can actually control that by clicking here. And I can, because there are some websites that won't take symbols, so I can uncheck symbols. Okay? Or I can say, you know what, I'd rather have that be 23 characters long, and I can generate a new one. I now have a 23 character one. In this case, I do have to copy and paste it. And if I go back here and I paste it in, and I confirm it and paste it in and click update, this better work. Okay. Now, look at the blue bar up at the top. It says, hey, should LastPass remember this password? I've noticed that you just generated a new password and put it into something. So do I want to not now, never for this website, or save it? In this case, I do want to save it. And so it brings me up this screen. And what I am totally not getting, this is not working the way I wanted it to, but what I was expecting to see was a choice here. Oh, I've never remembered this one. Oh, okay, sorry. This is where live demo gets really funky. If I already had a password saved in my LastPass account for this service, it would say, hey, I noticed you already have one. Do you want to replace it with your new one? Okay. In this case, this service, as I discovered the hard way the other day, I never saved this password in LastPass. So as far as it's concerned, I'm saving a brand new site to my account. So what I can tell it is, you know what, whenever you see that I've gone to criterion.com, here's what I'm going to call it. My username is going to be my email address. And that password's in here. And it's blocked for me unless I click this show password. Go ahead and save that. Now if I log out, this should work, and then I go to log in, there's my little asterisks, and it says, hey, you have an account here for criterion.com, would you like to fill that in? I say yes, and I click log in and log in.
Your email had MAA.
Oh, did I? Okay, well, there we go. I can't type. So it's MSA. Aha! Look what just happened. I just changed something. Do you want me to remember this? Yes, please. And now I click log in and it gets me into my account.
Great demo.
So yeah, I mean, sometimes mistakes help. Okay. So let me see real quick here if I can log into Ravelry. Ravelry was fun because it sent me a... Sometimes you log into a website and then it asks you to confirm your email address. Ravelry asks you to confirm your email address first and then click on that email to create your account. So luckily that just worked. So pick a username, Sauers, and here's that little generate password. So this is a brand new site, never been here before. I say, okay, what sort of password do I want? Okay, 23 characters, all character types, at least 1 digit. Yep, that works. You can avoid ambiguous characters like 1 and L. You know, you can, but I'm not going to remember any of this. So I go ahead and say use password. It fills in both the original and the confirm. I can go ahead and save it, Ravelry. I can create folders to organize things, like folder never going to use this site ever again. I'm kidding. I'm not, but you know. Save site. It says you have saved your password in your vault. Click create my account. And then I can confirm the fact that I did that after the page loads. And now in my vault is my Ravelry username and password. I saw part of it at one point. I didn't even see the whole thing. I have absolutely no idea what that password is, but it's a really good one. Yeah, you friend me. I won't remember this past today. I'll be honest. Now, a few other things you can do with this. Now, I'm using my browser to do this, but I can actually, in my plugin, when I pull this up, I have a lot of those same choices I actually had on the website. But right now, they're completely integrated in. And one of the things I can do is, you know what, I know I've got an account on Pinterest, but to be honest, I don't remember the address. Yeah, I do, but let's for argument's sake. Okay. Type in Pinterest, it will find it, and then if I click on it, it will actually take me there. And it's got a bad URL in it. So let's do that. So let's go back to here, search Pinterest. And now in this case, I'm going to click this little wrench. And I can say, I want this to autofill, I want to copy or paste the username or password or the URL. In this case, I want to edit it. Because notice what has happened here, at some point it saved a really obnoxious URL. So I'm going to change that back to just, I want it at pinterest.com. I click save. If I bring that back up, and actually here's recently used. Notice Pinterest is not there because I just changed the URL. There's also show matching sites because I'm on Pinterest. And let's... still have not exactly mastered the typing and talking at the same time. Now I'm already logged in, but now you'll notice up in my login here, there's a little 1. That's because it's found one match for the site that I'm on. I have one account on Pinterest. Just to make a point, if I go back here and search Google, there's a half dozen, depending on who I want to log in as. Okay. Let me go into the vault here this way. And so this is just now kind of the in-browser view of the website version I was looking at earlier. And you can see I have organized some of these into folders. You can create several different things. You can, as I mentioned, share folders. You can manually add a site here if you want to. You can add what's called a secure note. So a secure note is just something you want to remember, and you can store it in a folder, or you can say, you know what, I want to store, credit card information. And it is still fully encrypted, still securely stored in your database, just like your passwords are. But then it will start to allow you to do things like, oh, I notice you want to fill in credit card information here. Which one of your credit cards would you like me to fill in for you? Right.
Is this, in LastPass, is it secure?
Yep. AES 256. If you lose your master password, you're done. So don't lose your master password. So I've got secure notes stored in here, things like serial numbers to devices. Question?
I know a lot of sites, especially credit cards, will have security questions.
Yes.
Is that where you put those answers?
Possibly. There is there's this form fill properties and identities that you can use, which I don't use all that much, but theoretically, yes. I would experiment. Yeah, I would experiment with that because another security recommendation that I don't use yet myself and probably should, considering I'm mentioning it, is when they ask you for mother's maiden name as a security question or whatever, lie.
Create an alternate reality.
Yeah. I like that. Create an alternate reality and say your mother's last name was, Quiznos. I mean, I don't know, and why that just popped into my head is a good question. You have to remember that you said your mother's maiden name was Quiznos, and nobody else is going to know that. And they don't care that you gave them the technically correct answer. They just want them to match. Okay? And that's where kind of some of these secure notes and form fills might make your life a little easier if you were going to go with that. Okay. So there was a few other things I want to show you here. How are we doing on time? Okay.
So if there's another Heartbleed or something like that, is there a way to go in and reset all of your passwords?
No, you will have to go to every site one by one. But what you would do is you would say, initiate a password reset, however that service does. But as long as you're running this, it will notice that you changed your password and update itself accordingly. Okay? So I literally spent a month resetting 600 some passwords through this. It was painful. But once I got through it, I'm now in this environment. But I am much more confident in the level of security I have on all of this stuff.
It'd be great if there's some things like my student loan is on Nelnet, and I don't know how many times I've had to go and email and reset because I only go in. My student loans are still in deferment. I only go in once every 6 months. And I
can't remember what that password is. Right, exactly. So I will admit, as much as I'm trying to convince all of you to do this, I will admit there's a curve. There's a big hump you have to get over to do this. Yes?
It wouldn't have mattered whether if Heartbleed happens again,
yes.
I have to go through my notebook of 600 and I'm going to have to re-record all of them. So it's
right,
still
yeah, you're still going to have to change them, you're still going to have to do it. Right, exactly. Now, there are some tools in here that will help, okay? One of the things here is this security check, okay? This is cool, especially when it came to Heartbleed, and this is what kind of sent me over the edge into wanting to use this program. I'm going to go ahead and run this actually on my account and ask me for my password again, and it's now decrypting all of my information. And it's running through, and I deleted a lot of sites and things, so this number has gone down a little bit, but it's running through 442 sites, and it's going to give me a report on how good my passwords are. Yes?
So this is where it checks whether you're using the same password for
Yes.
50.
Yeah, okay. It will give you a score, and it's going to do a couple of things, okay? Now, one of which is, please, I've done this mistakenly, don't email all of your friends telling them to do this. Just trust me. All right, that's bad. Okay. My score is 80.2%. Okay? But it really likes my master password. That's the 100% here. I mean, so my master password is really good. But your score is only going to be as good as your worst password. Okay, so that is something, 80% is not bad. Okay? One of the things it's going to do is it is actually paying attention to Heartbleed. Okay? And so it knows about sites that I use that are in my LastPass list that got hit by Heartbleed. And when I last changed my password to when they patched the problem. And so, because the problem when Heartbleed came out was, if you change your password today, but they don't fix the problem until tomorrow, it doesn't matter that you changed your password. So I was able to pay attention to this and notice all these you are safes. In other words, I actually had to pay attention to, oh, box.com fixed the problem, I now need to go in and change my password. Okay. What it will also do, and notice I have some Go updates. I've gotten a little away from this. Number of sites scanned, number of weak passwords, average password strength, and then it's going to go through all of them. And now, this is where I start having a problem. 4 sites with duplicate passwords. That's killing me, okay? But the problem is that Omaha Public Library and Freegal Music, they're both the same because it's logging in with my Omaha Public Library card, my Omaha Public Library PIN. So they have to be the same. So there's a duplicate, so you can decide to ignore that. The other problem is, and notice my password score is 6%, because Omaha will only let me have a 4-digit PIN. And that sucks, but I can't change it. So if I could, my score would be a lot better, but I'm kind of stuck on that one. Okay, but worst case is somebody could break in, steal my free music downloads for the week and check out a library book. I mean, so I've decided I'm not going to be overly that concerned. So here's another one with some duplicate passwords. But now the strength is also going to be based on your strongest password. So most of my passwords are 16 characters, but I just created one with 23. So the fact that I have a 23 character password in there means all of my 16 character ones are now not as strong as the 23 one. So I actually just lowered my score. So, now I'm not saying you have to live and die by this, but it helps you. And this is what I was using to go through my 600 accounts and figure out, do I still use that? Do I need to change the password? Because I had some accounts I hadn't logged into in 4 years, and I still had like this 5-character password that really sucked. So I had to go into each one at a time and fix them. And you can kind of see when I did it because it shows you your password age. Right? So if we get down into the really good ones, it was about a year ago that Heartbleed happened. It was just after conference, and I started dealing with all of this. You're learning a little bit about me looking at these lists too. So that security check is really handy. I think I need to actually run this in a little bit to run through me. The other one is the preferences, and there is a lot here that I want to show you. But before I get to that, let me mention a couple of things. There are an important export function. So you can export your complete database and keep an online backup. Okay? You can print your list of passwords. If you're one of them who you got to have it on paper somewhere, there is a print function. Okay? Your backup that you can make it secure or unsecure. So you can encrypt your backup, or you can keep it as a plain text file if you want to. Don't recommend it, but if you're really afraid you're going to lose your master password, you can make those sorts of backups. Where are my darn preferences? There we go. There's a lot here, and so I don't want to go through all of them, but there's global preferences. I've also mentioned some site-by-site preferences, such as does it automatically log you in, or does it just fill in the form for you, or does it force you to ask the password for the master password all the time. You can control those notifications that show up in the bar up there, or as you have clicked on different things. In here, you can control how long it keeps you logged into LastPass before it asks you for that master password again. You can control, for me it was Alt-G to generate a new password. If you don't like that, you can change it to something else. There is fill in the next login. I didn't even know you could do that. I could just hit some keys and do that. So there are lots of different things that the account settings takes you back to the website to control larger account level. And advanced gets really, really funky. I won't do too much about that. So that, I think, is pretty much everything I wanted to demo about LastPass, and we've all had some questions as we're going along. I've got a couple more slides to wrap this up. We have about 10 more minutes. Other questions? Yeah.
If you do theoretically forget your LastPass master password, but you're trying, do you get unlimited attempts to keep trying?
I think that's something you can set in the preferences.
Oh, okay. So you can do that right away?
Yeah.
Don't forget, I know.
Right, yeah. Don't forget. But yeah, I think by default it is unlimited, but you could actually lower it. And I think it also has the ability to lower it and then lock you out for a time period.
Mm-hmm.
So, if I screw it up 3 times, lock me out for 24 hours because it's obviously somebody trying to get into my account.
Right.
Or something like that. There are a lot of tweaky little advanced settings there, and I could spend the next 3 hours going over, and I really don't want to, and don't have the time. One of the other things, if you are going to use LastPass, you want to turn off your browser's remembering passwords and filling in, because they'll start to bump into each other. Okay? And really, as convenient as the browser's remembering login information is, it is really unsecure. Somebody gets that, they're off to the races. Yeah.
So when I install LastPass, I happen to have let the browser remember some. Does it go and find them?
No.
Does it know? Okay. So I have to go and extract them.
Yep.
Okay.
Like I said, there is this hump to get over with this, but I've done it. It can be done. And probably most of you don't have 400 or 600 accounts to worry about. You probably have a couple dozen or something like that. So, or maybe you do. Like I said, I sign up for everything. So I now have a Ravelry account. So there we go. Yeah.
Ones that makes you change, like at my job, the computer every 90 days makes me change my password for the computer and for my employee email. It's the same.
Okay. Right. It's the logging into the, so what LastPass will do in that case, because we're under a very similar situation, is it's going to remember and notice password changes that are done in the browser. So if you're changing your password in Outlook, it will not notice that. But what you would need to do is copy and paste that information into your LastPass account. It's also not going to notice the login screen of your desktop or laptop because you're not to the program yet. So there can, as much as I was kind of showing you the automatic features, it's all automatic if it's being done in the browser. So if you change your password through, say, Outlook Web Access, then it would notice. So there are situations where you do have to copy and paste and kind of create some things manually. Yes.
Folders.
Yep.
I'm kind of coming from a bibliographic manager mentality, so.
You want to be organized. Yes.
Can you put a password in more than one category, i.e. folder? So if I had a folder for UNL and then a folder for Google,
That's a very good question. Let's see here.
Can I do that?
Chat. Let's edit.
Because I know it can search, but sometimes I just want to go into a category because that's where my
No, it doesn't look like it. It looks like that is a single select choice. Good question. I hadn't thought of it. But yeah, I can see the use case. Definitely. To be honest, I think I created these folders, and I'm not sure I've ever actually gone back to care what folder they're in because it's all either I've gone to the site and so it says, oh, you're at Pinterest, here are your options, or I've just searched for it and found it. I really have not. thinking back on it, I wish I hadn't taken the time to organize them into folders, because for me, I've never
My issue
going
is
back.
partly because some sites can't seem to remember what they want to call themselves.
Oh, well, yeah.
SkyDrive, OneDrive,
Well,
you
and
know, Microsoft names
right,
things 4 or
if
5 different names.
if I let's not show a credit card record. That would be good. Yeah, I'm working with live data here, folks. Yeah, and sure, log into my AIM account. Oh, and this is even a note, actually. So let me find one that's an actual account here before I verify to verify recently used Facebook.
I suppose I could put all the different names in the notes. Because
Well, yeah, I'm thinking, yeah, okay, so folder is definitely a one choice, but if you fill in the notes,
Okay.
it should still search it. So, like, just for fun, Quiznos. Let's see if it works, because I've never actually done this. So if I go back to search, yeah, so it is searching across the notes, not just the name field. So if you put, any information in the notes, it will find it for you.
I was late.
Yes.
How much does this software cost?
LastPass in and of itself is free.
Okay.
And so you install it in Chrome or Firefox as a browser extension. You also have full web access at lastpass.com. And then if you're stuck with IE, you can download and install something. There's a mobile app. That's $12. But you don't have to use the mobile app. You can go into your web. Yeah, a year. Sorry, thank you. I could launch my browser on my phone and get full access to this. But if I pay the $12 and get the app, then on my phone it will say, "Hey, I noticed you're trying to log into Pinterest. Would you like me to do that for you?" So to me, it's absolutely worth the $12. It saves my life. Does this make everything as easy as your simple password that you can remember right now? No, it does add a level of complexity. But I firmly believe once you commit to it and get the hang of it, you get that peace of mind of the fact that you're that much more secure in using it.
It's also easier to get into my house if I just leave it
Unlocked, right? Good
But
point.
it's worth the inconvenience.
Yeah, exactly. Sir?
I got a question about the mobile version. Does
Yes.
it integrate with the browsers?
It integrates with everything. Okay,
Like,
now, okay,
or do you have to
let me.
use the LastPass as the browser?
No, okay.
Okay.
Now, let me answer all of those questions, and I'm going to answer this from an Android perspective because that's what I use. My understanding is with the latest version of iOS, this is getting much closer to the Android. Android is like fully functional, iOS is like 98% functional. There is some differences. The app does have a browser. So I could launch LastPass, find Pinterest, tap Pinterest, it takes me to a new tab, and it's got its own built-in browser. I can also launch Chrome, and then the app will notice that while I'm in Chrome, I'm trying to log into a website. I can also launch the Facebook app, and the LastPass app will notice that I'm trying to log into Facebook with the Facebook app and completely kind of make it a seamless environment. So I launched the eBay app, and it asked me to log in. A little Pinterest, or a little LastPass window will pop up on the screen saying, "Hey, do you want to log in with LastPass? Type in your LastPass password." And then if I have multiple accounts, it'll ask me which account, and it's kind of a fully integrated process. It's not as smooth as I would like it, but it's pretty darn close. So
I've been using Firefox and Android, and
Okay.
I'm not sure if I maybe haven't configured it right, maybe.
yeah, it should work.
Oh, it should work, okay.
It
I'll
should
explore that.
notice that you're on a login screen,
Yeah,
whether it's in an app or in a browser.
okay.
And then it should launch. And I think that might be some of the bugginess I've discovered. If I know I'm going to go log into a website through something, I will generally log into LastPass first,
Okay.
then run the other thing,
Yeah.
because sometimes it doesn't always catch, and I end up switching back and forth and some weirdness. iOS, I think under 7 wouldn't integrate. You would have to switch back and forth and copy and paste. I've heard that in iOS 8, that integration has gotten better. And that's purely an iOS thing. That's not a LastPass thing. LastPass has been wanting to do it. It's Apple's control of how their operating system interacts between apps. So yeah, that shouldn't. It's supposed to work the way I described it. How's that?
Thank you, yeah.
Yep. So okay, let me just officially wrap up, and I can take a couple of other questions if we've got the time, because there is one other topic I want to mention, and that got me completely back to the beginning of my slides. So where I would like you to be in the end is acceptance. Okay? This is kind of where I think I am at this point. You know, I've accepted that security does take a little work, but I've gotten there. And so trying to log into most of my websites is kind of something like this at this point. The last thing, though, I do want to mention, which is not a LastPass thing, but something you want to start paying attention to, is multi-factor authentication. Okay. More and more services are doing this, but you have to turn it on. Google does this, Facebook does this, Twitter does this. If I go to a brand new computer that I've never logged into my Microsoft account or my Google account before, it will ask me for my username and my password. It will then send me a text message to my phone that I've told it my phone number with a code that I then have to type in. Multi-factor authentication is something you know and something you have. I know my username and password. I have my phone. So if somebody in Russia tries to log into my Facebook account on a computer I've never used before, which I haven't because I've never been to Russia, I will basically get a text message saying, hey, here's your login code. And I'm like, interesting. Somebody's trying to get into my account. But they can't because I'm the one with that special code. And then for me, it's really cool because then that also shows up on my Pebble Watch on my wrist. So I can just type it in from here and not pull the phone out of my pocket. But anyways, so again, it's another layer. And if you're someone who tends to walk away from your phone, it doesn't work very well. But if you're one of those folks who always has your phone with you, look into multi-factor authentication. And that is something you can do completely separate from LastPass. Any other questions? We've got just like 2 more minutes. Anybody going to give it a shot? A couple of you? Yeah, you got to commit to it. I tell you, I stewed about it for like 2 weeks going, ugh, this is going to hurt. But I'm glad I did it. I mean, I got through it. So, and you know, you can start with your bank account. You know, you don't have to go through everything in a couple weeks, just slowly but surely, and say, you know, this week, you know, once a day, I'm going to change another password and have LastPass take over for that website. Or the next time I log into Facebook, I'll do a change of password. Like, you know, and it doesn't have to be as systematic as I made it, but you can easily do it. So. All right, thank you much. I'm done. I'll wrap this up, and I'm staying here.